Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So you're president of an organization, a European organization. Could you, in some words, present yourself?
Yes, I'm the president of the European Federation of National Institutions for Language. And this organization is a private organization in the sense that it is registered as a non-profit organization in Luxembourg. But it actually organizes many official national institutions all over Europe that deal with languages.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for instance, in Belgium and the Netherlands, you would have the Nederlandse Taalunie, and they would be a member of our organization. In Denmark, you would have the Danish Language Council under the Ministry of Culture. And I've been head of that institution, and that's the way that I came into EFNIL. So they're also a member. In France, it's the Ministry of Culture that deals with the language policy and so on. So in most countries, or almost half of the members are official national institutions for languages. And they usually deal with language policy, language standardization, and language education.
So
like
you say European, what does that mean? Is it just members of the European Union, which would exclude the United Kingdom? And then it's a bit very weird that we are speaking English now.
And
Yes.
Sweden, Switzerland.
Yes, and Norway and so on. Yes, we have a European focus because we when we started, we wanted to have very good contacts with the European Union and a link into the language policy that they have, and especially regarding multilingualism, enabling everyone to be able to speak their own language. That's one of the big issues that we are trying to promote. And of course, that is one of the essential policies for language of the European Union. So we cooperate very much. So our organization is structured in the way that EU countries have 2 members and sort of 2 votes in our General Assembly, and non-EU members have only 1 vote. So Norway and Switzerland and other countries are members, but then they only have 1 vote when we have to make decisions.
What about countries like Belgium, where there are 3 national languages?
Yes, because the Taalunie is a sort of a supranational organization, because it also covers the Dutch in Holland and in the Netherlands, and then Flemish in Belgium and so on. They actually have 3 votes. But they cover Belgium and the Netherlands. And then, of course, there is an organization which is dealing with French in Wallonia. So they have a separate organization. They are.
And what about German in Belgium?
German is not represented as an organization, because there is no, I mean, we usually go for the big national organizations, and Germany has a special situation because it is national language in many other countries as well. So, and the Belgium regulations for German, as far as I remember, they are also associated with the German, what happens in the German, for instance, dictionary, official orthography, and so they are not represented as a national organization in EFNIL.
From a language point of view, they would be basically German in the sense of actual Germany then.
Yes, okay. They would be covered through the German membership. But Switzerland has, I mean, countries have many different linguistic regimes, and sometimes it is quite difficult to sort of find out who is actually the official organization for a country. But we also represent minority languages. So non-official languages, because many of our members not only have responsibility for the national language, but also for minority languages. So for instance, Sweden, they have 5 official languages. So they also have Romani as an official, not official, but recognized language. They have Finnish. They have Sami, Meänkieli dialects or languages, and also Yiddish as an official language. So they have a ruling that says that any language that has been spoken in Sweden for 100 years has an official status and has the right to be preserved and protected.
But are they also represented with their own institutions, or are they going through the Norway?
They are going through the official, yes. And it's also because it is difficult to manage so many different minor or small institutions. So the minority languages are covered in the sense that the official language institutes have a responsibility. This also goes, for instance, for sign languages, which is a part of many official institutions. And so they are not represented as such, because we are an organization not for the languages, but for the institutions. And so the languages are sort of coming in through the institutions.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Now, in Holland too, or in the Netherlands, there are also some languages that have been recognized, like Fries and Limburgs and...
Oh yes, Frisian. Mm-hmm.
So they...
Yes, Papiamento in some of the overseas, yes. Mm-hmm.
Some of them actually do have their own language institutions, like the Friska Academy. Are they represented?
No, because they are not national institutions. They are sort of language institution in a country, but they are not official national institutions. So we try to draw a line. So we are trying to address those or organizing those who really have a kind of national responsibility.
So that will also not apply to, for example, the Welsh language or the Catalonian language. I noticed, by the way, that Spain is not on the list.
Yeah, Spain has been a member for some time, and then they opted out because they were really busy with other things. But actually, we are in negotiations with them of renewing their membership again. Yes, Portugal is the same.
Yeah, because you said that in Sweden there is one organization also representing all those different languages, but is the same true for het Nederlandse de Nederlandse Taalunie of het Instituut voor de Nederlandse Taal? Do they also represent the Fries and Limburgs? Or...
They do have a close links, and they are also representing the Fries, but of course not in the same way as the Fries Academy would do. I know them very well. I've been also giving talks there, but we try to avoid regional and local languages and try to concentrate on the official languages. So, for instance, Frisian is not an official language that is talked in governmental level or in other levels. So we try to draw a line, but sometimes it's difficult.
And what is the reason for sticking to the nation states as they exist?
The reason is that it is more manageable, and because we want to have the official institutions that actually can represent the policy of the different countries. So because we focused on the policy, and the policy is usually made by the official national institutions.
What about Turkey? Turkey is part Asian, but also part Europe.
Yes, I mean Turkey
Russia, for example,
could be a member. We have discussed very much. We have Ukraine as a member. We have Georgia as a member. And we are talking now also to Moldavia, for instance, to include them. But we also ask of these institutions that they respect the rulings of the European Union. So we do include associated countries or countries who are negotiating association agreements, and that's why Georgia and Ukraine are sort of possible members, as well as Moldavia. But countries who are not in association with the EU or have any kind of intention of becoming a member are not included.
But Turkey has the intention and is also part of the European Council. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. The European Council is much broader, of course, but we wouldn't mind including Turkey, but there have not been any contacts yet. So, but that is what we are looking at. We are trying, when we included Ukraine and Georgia, we were looking at, has there been any contract, for instance, for research and for other purposes. So it is important to understand that it's not the languages that are represented, but the nations and the institutions that are responsible for the languages of that particular nation.
Okay.
And of course, it's difficult for some countries because, in England, for instance, or in Great Britain, there is not an organization for the English language. And also in Italy, there is no official organization.
Isn't there?
No. There is no one who really creates the
rules,
the official rules for Italian. There is the Accademia della Crusca, but they are sort of an academic organization, but they are not officially appointed to rule over the Italian language, although in practice they are doing this. And also we have had as a member for many years John Simpson from the Oxford English Dictionary. And they are the de facto standard of the language. And so in the countries where there is no official appointment of an institution, we went for the institutions that sort of are representing the standard. It's the same is actually also the case in Croatia. So there are three countries where there are no official orthographic ruling in among our members. So yeah.
But isn't it ironic then that, for example, in the British case, English is doesn't have an institution, but the Welsh language actually does have an institution and an official status.
Yes.
And they are not allowed to be part of it.
Yeah, we have the Fornas Nagelje, the Irish, of course, but Welsh is again on a lower level because it's only a regional language and not a complete.
But it's also the only one official with an official status in the UK. That makes it a bit ironic then.
Yes, yes, that's right. But that's the way we have. The Catalonia is also an interesting case. The Catalan language it's much bigger and larger in number of speakers than for instance the Danish language or other languages. But still,
and it's in 3 states as well.
Yes.
Yeah. But when you would work with Spain, it's a member of the European Union, so they can have 2 institutions
Yes.
representing them. So in that case, you could have one for Spanish and one for Catalans.
Yes, that would be possible, definitely, if the Spanish institution will accept that.
Yeah.
I doubt that, because then you would exclude like Galicia and the Basque language, and then you get a whole political mess on that. So,
certainly
the Basque people would complain that they don't get any representation. So,
and that is also the reason why we have not included all these different countries or regions, because it would be quite unmanageable, and we would like to avoid to discuss, language internal or a country internal language problems, but we would rather like to focus on European language discussions. And that is and in that case, if we start going into all these other languages, the focus would be rather unclear.
I imagine that you will also end up in discussions about language versus dialect, because there are dialect organizations here in Belgium that might want to knock on the door. and say we are
sure. But
we
I
are
mean,
here
it
as
is
well.
not the case that we are not interested in these issues.
Mhm.
And we would invite representatives of these organizations to our conferences and discuss with them what the issues are and how they can be solved and so on, and whether we can help and so on. So it's not because we don't focus on these areas from time to time, but as an organization and in order to be manageable, we have chosen this other approach.
Mhm.
And I imagine that you have already lost a lot of time discussing who can be a member and who can't and why. And it's
Yes, and we have this exercise from time to time where we are discussing this, and but we always end up saying no. We will keep to this approach. We have also had discussions about, and still have interest in also connecting with other countries from other parts of the world. So we have had contact with South Korea, for instance, and Japan. We are also talking to South Africa and others. And so, I mean, I think it could be very interesting also to share some ideas and so on with these countries. I have been also participating in the UNESCO conferences, language conferences that they have had on language technology, where I had a chance to meet many people from all over the world. And what always strikes me is that the problems that they are dealing with, the discussions that they have about language, the different wishes that they have that they want to achieve with their policies are very similar. I was quite, especially when I talked to my Korean colleagues, I was really astonished how many issues we were sharing.
Like,
for instance, how to integrate people talking sign languages, how to deal with orthography, how to create a norm for the language that everybody can accept.
how to avoid everybody starting to speak English in
Yes, in education and so on. That has been an issue many times. How to make sure that the terminology that is used by a public institution is clear and understandable, and how the language that public institutions speak to their citizens is understandable. What kind of approaches are being taken in different countries, and how can we learn from each other? These are the main interesting issues that we have. So we try to bring together the different aspects of linguistic regimes and try to inspire each other. So we are not making policies as such, but we are making people understand each other's policies better.
That's on a transnational level then. Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
What I was asking myself, the organization was founded in Stockholm in 2003. So
Yes.
why then and there?
It started with a few people from the Institut für Deutsche Sprache in Mannheim, and also representatives of the Nederlandse Taalunie, Johan van Orde, among others, and a few others. And they started meeting, and they sort of met at different locations in Europe, and then in Stockholm they finally agreed to create an organization. And there has been an annual meeting conference every year since, and it's in different cities of Europe. So our next conference in October will be in Vienna, and our last conference was in Budapest. It should have been in Georgia, but there was too much
Upheaval.
unease, and we were not sure that it would be safe to be in Georgia, in Tbilisi. So before that it was in Ljubljana. So we are moving around all Europe, and so Stockholm was just the first place where it happened.
So it was institutions who are now members and who already had contact and said, we're going to formalize this and expand.
Yes, and then more and more joined over the years.
So you actually have a physical office somewhere, or?
We have a secretariat, yes, which is led by one of our member institutions. And currently it was actually at the Taalunie in the beginning. And Johan van Orde was the general secretary. But then it moved to Budapest and has been there for many years. And now it is moving to Mannheim in Germany. And there we have a general secretary who is a member of our executive committee, and some people who are doing the sort of the footwork, the basic work.
So you have a small staff of
a very small staff. I mean, there's only 2 half-time employees, so it's not a big thing. But that means that the members of the executive committee are working quite hard. So I, as a president, I'm doing a lot of work as well. And our members are also working for us. So for instance, we have various activities. So we have the Master Thesis Award. Maybe I can talk about that.
Yes.
First,
we already mentioned that many months ago, before the deadline was due. So
and I hope you will do it again, because it is given out every year. And we ask people who have written a thesis which had good grades and has a theme. European languages, European language policy, or also language technology, and even also dialects, whatever, that has a relation to European languages, to submit their thesis. So we are not re-evaluating the thesis or not, doing the work of their supervisors, or the evaluation committee, but we are looking at the thesis and awarding those who we find have made an exceptionally good description of the language situation in Europe. So there are always 2 or 3 young researchers who are given the award, and we get like 25 to 28 theses every year, and we form an international evaluation committee. So we find among our members people who know the language in which the thesis is written.
Yes, I was going to ask that.
No, it can be written in any European language. So we find people who can evaluate and read it, and then we discuss which 3 theses we think represent interesting topics that we would like to promote. And it can be, I mean, it was some years ago, it was a Spanish one, a young woman who was investigating the way the Spanish Academy was used on Twitter. And,
so Spain isn't the member, but somebody from Spain can submit a thesis.
Anybody can,
Anybody from all over the world, or from Europe?
Europe, yes. Europe.
Okay.
So, but it was really interesting, because she was analyzing all the tweets that had been regarding Spanish words and how they were spelled in South America, North America, different parts of the world, and that was she could map the world in a way with regard to the different spelling of different words and discussions about which words were interesting to which people and which parts of the world. That we found that quite intriguing.
So, and she won the prize,
and she won. She was one of the winners. Yeah, but that can mean many different. I mean, it could be the language policy of the Swiss Railroad that has been described by a young researcher who has looked at how is the Swiss Railroad kind of approaching their passengers, and what kind of language do they use, and so on. So it can be really broad, and I think that also makes it quite interesting. We have one this year. I shouldn't say that. No. Because,
okay.
He knows, but people don't know who it is. I can say it. It is about No, is from Norway, and it is about the communication between ships on sea and how that works, and what problems occur. And so you can see there are all kinds of issues where languages play a role.
Oh,
So that's
Yeah.
one of our activities, and another one is the European Language Monitor. And we started from saying that our members work quite hard. So the Master Thesis Award is run by 2 members of our executive committee, and the European Language Monitor is also run by our members. So there are some member institutions who take responsibility to run this. And the monitor is a kind of status of language policies in Europe. So we look at legislation. So what kind of legislation is there in the different countries? So for instance, how many countries do have regulations of language in their constitution? Or do they have a language law? Or do they have other laws where languages are regulated? Then we look at language, the role of languages in education, both in primary, secondary, and university. So, for instance, the issue of teaching using English as a teaching language, a language of instruction, is sort of registered in this monitor. So you can go and see it's updated every 4 years.
So all these data are actually available on your website?
Online, yes.
Great.
So you can go back to 10 years back, and you could see how is the situation for the Netherlands, for instance. How much English would they use in the humanities at universities? How much would they use in social sciences or in natural science? And you would see that the Netherlands actually is the country in which English is used the most in university education.
Apart from Great Britain.
But Finland, for instance, when you look at science, at natural science, Finland also has a quite big, and Denmark also has quite many courses that are taught in English. So the way we try to look at it is take a look at the 5 largest university in your country, and how large a percentage of the courses are taught in English. So that's the question that we ask people to figure out, and then they contact the university administration or someone else in the government who knows these things, and then they bring back the information to the language monitor.
I saw you also have a project that's called Language Legislation Europe, but I don't really see how this is different from what is already included in the European Language Monitor.
Yeah, the Language Legislation in Europe was a project we made where we had sort of a written account of the language legislation. So every country would make a description of these different aspects, a kind of summary, you could say. Whereas the Language Monitor every 4 years would do sort of a more detailed overview. So we also in the Language Monitor, we also include, for instance, demands for a citizenship, what kind of demands are there for people who want to become citizens from the linguistic side, language use in industry and commerce. So how many websites or company websites are in English or in other languages? Also teaching of other languages in the countries. We look at cultural use, so newspapers, music, and all these kind of things as well. So we go through, and language technology as well, which has become a more and more important issue during the recent years, especially also now because of artificial intelligence. Many of our institutions are also collectors of language data. So they have kind of big collections of books and corpora, collections of texts and spoken language and so on. And they have, of course, become quite attractive during the last couple of years because these resources are very relevant when you are making artificial intelligence applications.
I also saw that you encourage education in national languages.
Yes.
So, and how do you encourage it? Because, for example, you have some declarations you made or resolutions, and the one in Florence was about the increasing amount of English spoken in higher education. But do you do something more than just present the problem?
Well, we have, when you look at the list of our conferences, this issue is one of the things, and we are inviting institutions European institutions from the EU to participate, and they usually do participate. So, for instance, the Director General for Interpretation and the Director General for Translation of the European Union, and also the Director General for Language and Technology, they often participate, or a representative of their institution participates. And also the European Parliament is, for instance, coming to our conference in Vienna. And so we discuss with them. We try to sort of show what the issue is. So we get reports at our conferences from all kinds of countries. And we also have invited speakers, but we raise one issue, like, for instance, English in further education, or the use of national language on the internet or whatever.
Or in interviews.
Or yes, yeah, whatever. And then we have a discussion of these issues, and sometimes there will be a resolution or a recommendation, and in other cases maybe we decide to investigate an area more thoroughly. So, for instance, right now we are looking at also the teaching of foreign languages at universities, because we can see that there is a decrease of languages many places, but very often, people have this national, they can see it in their own country, but they don't know what is going on in other countries. So there again, we would collect the information and make it available online, so that people who are dealing with these issues can get access to this information. So, for instance, if you go into the European Language Monitor, it's not only the statistics that you can see, but there is always also a very rich comment field that you can access, and also translations of the central legislation that is upheld in the different countries. So as a researcher, or or if you, for instance, would like to say, okay, what are they doing in Lithuania on this issue, you could actually go in and see a translation of the laws that they have implemented for instance, teaching at universities.
And do you also have a possibility to exchange tactics to tackle some issues?
Yeah. That's what we do at our conferences, and we also have webinars where we meet. We have been part of a big European language equality project that has been mapping language resources for all European languages, and where we have been looking at the obstacles and the possibilities of making all European languages available for artificial intelligence and language technology. In Ljubljana, we had the last resolution that we made was made in Ljubljana, where we discovered that there still are European languages that are not available in, for instance, in big entertainment industries like Disney Plus, or also the Apple interface for this iPhone has not been available in Slovenian, for instance, until last year. And also Lithuanian has not had many of these things that maybe other people use, Netflix and so on. There is not even the chance of getting subtitles for many of the countries. And so we see that the big entertainment industries and big tech industries are they are present in Europe, and they are, making all their big films and series and whatever available, but they are not really very good at making it available in the languages of the country where they are present.
Because maybe with artificial intelligence.
Yeah. I mean, that is actually something which is really interesting. We are also now testing. At our next conference, we will be testing a system that by Zoom actually provides automatic translation and interpretation.
Yeah.
So I can speak in Danish, and then it is translated. It is recognized that there's a speech recognition, and then the text that is generated is translated into English or into Dutch or whatever you would like it to be. And that's a facility that is clearly getting more and more interesting. I tried it at the UNESCO conference in Paris in February. And in some cases it works quite well, but it doesn't work so well for the smaller languages. It works best for English, French, and German, and so on.
Yes, the languages that don't really need it. Okay, we have 1 minute left.
Oh.
If people would be interested in knowing your organization, where can they reach you? Find you?
We have a website, which is EFNIL, EFNIL.org. And there you can access our databases and read more about the organization and see who's a member and so on.
All right. Thank you, Sabine Kirchmeier Andersen, for representing your organization.
Thank you.